Brian, if you don't want to pay on the first date for a non-traditional woman, why then should a traditional woman go against her values for a non-traditional man that wants sex before marriage?
If I don't want to pay on the first date for a non-traditional woman, why then should a traditional woman go against her? I mean, if you're a traditional woman who wants marriage, I'm not the guy for you. Look, I think there's like this sort of idea here that it has to be all or nothing when it comes to being traditional. I think it's more on a spectrum, really, and people will fall somewhere on the spectrum of being traditional or non-traditional. I don't claim to be 100% all the way towards traditional, certainly not. Obviously, Andrew calls me a degenerate. I have sex before marriage, heaven forbid. Let's see what else.
Look, you're a good friend.
I don't want to get married.
Okay, but that shit's fucking degenerate, bro. It's degenerate.
Yeah, you say I'm a coomer, bro. You say I'm a coomer because I have, I have long-term monogamous relationships and I have sex with them.
Where do you find your definition for traditional from?
Well, I don't know if I even...
Well, because you say it falls on a spectrum,
sure.
So where do you get your traditional from?
Where do I get traditional from?
Yeah, what do you use
well, I mean, like somebody who falls in line into, the sort of traditional expectations that align with people's respective sex. So for males, you're going to be more masculine. You're going to be a provider, protector.
Well, how did you learn that? How did you learn what were the respective traditional roles?
How did I?
Is it just because that's what you like?
Okay, but that's where our belief comes in. It's God gave us those respective roles. It's a hierarchy created by God.
Well, just assume you're talking to somebody who's secular. I can just reject your position outright.
Well, you still can't answer. You say society. Okay, where'd society get it from?
Well, I mean, we can even look to societies that are perhaps were more atheist in their conduct, or even societies that predate. There's all kinds of, the Greeks and the Romans, they had their religions and whatnot. But, there's a component of, I think, tradition that would supersede religion.
Usually those that fall outside of what we call tradition have immoral practice.
Well, hold on. But while I would say that people who are religious tend to lean more traditional, I'm failing to, I guess, follow the argument here.
Well, you said traditional is
So traditional comes from religion?
Yes. Because any society outside of a biblical traditional standard has immoral practice, and they usually have a lot of crazy ways of it.
Sure, it could be. But would you agree that there are atheist men who are more traditional than Christian men?
Well, my whole point is, where did you get your definition of traditional?
Merriam-Webster?
Right. But the root of it.
But how about you answer my question first before you ask me a question? So are there some atheist men who are more traditional than Christian men?
I've come across several. I honestly don't think so.
It might be very rare, but is it possible?
I'm not saying it's impossible,
Okay,
but
so
there's always an exception.
Right. Okay.
Well, I'm just wondering, because you said you lean more traditional, but then you said it's on a spectrum. So I said, okay, if you're secular and your traditional aligns with the views of biblical traditional roles, then your secular argument.
Wait, could you not be an atheist and also look at the traditional gender dynamics, and even as an atheist come to the conclusion that this is a better way of maneuvering through a relationship and through the world than other kinds of gender relationship dynamics?
Well, the establishment of those roles came from...
Perhaps the genesis of it stems from religion, although you could even make an argument that there's a biological and evolutionary basis that has nothing to do with religion.
Well, evolution. That's probably not.
Let me ask you a question. Prior to any religion ever existing, do you think that the men and women, the way they conducted themselves, was traditional?
Say that one more time. Sorry,
Prior to the coming about of any religion, whether it's predates Christianity even, do you think that people were traditional?
I think we
in their cavemen or some shit?
I think we had our natural roles based on our creation and our abilities. What? Our abilities. They were given to us. It's the same thing.
Let's assume there was an island where you put a group of people, and maybe they were very young and they were not told about any sort of religion, right? Wouldn't it stand to reason that the sort of traditional dynamics in which you find desirable or that comport themselves to Christian theology or Christian faith, or that are more similar to that, or that, how's the best way to frame this? Would it be unlikely that a traditional dynamic between these people on this island, could it not manifest itself absent religion?
I mean, my answer is probably going to annoy you, but the reason that would occur is because of the way we were created. So our abilities would naturally establish a hierarchy based on our creation.
Wait, can I ask you a question? Let's say there was like let's say there was a civilization. Are you familiar with the Sentinelese?
I've heard of it, not familiar.
They're this, I think, the most uncontacted tribe. It's a territory of India. It's, I don't know the exact precise location, but it's called the North Sentinelese Island. They're uncontacted. They're not familiar with Christianity at all, as far as I know. I mean, they probably have some degree of traditional gender dynamics in their uncontacted society.
Okay,
so what does Christianity have to do with them and their traditional, the way they perhaps more traditionally conduct themselves?
Well, with or without someone believing in it, it doesn't negate the fact of we have our respective roles based on who created us and how we were created. That's why men are typically a more dominant role, because they were created in God's image. So that's why they're stronger, smarter, leaders, and that's why you have women go down the next chain. They were created in the likeness of man, but they're lesser. So that's why we're weaker, but we have other strengths meant to nurture. Then you go down the chain, you have children. So based
women are not even from the Christian paradigm, women are not lesser.
Well, lesser in the sense of, when I say lesser, I mean the argument that people make, like they're physically weaker.
Tajillo donated $69. What's another name for coming inside a woman? Loading the dishwasher.
Nice. That was
children. Well, by that argument, then you would be saying that children are lesser. So perhaps that's just not the verbiage that you wanted to use, right? Or perhaps just not the word you wanted to use. Ontologically, women and children are every bit as valuable as men are, right? They have the same value as men. There's a hierarchy of order. I think that's what you're alluding to, right? Yeah. Okay. I mean, shit, I get called a misogynist all the time. Even I don't think women have a lesser value than men. Right? I just think that there's a hierarchy.
Christ is Lord donated $69. Andrew, regarding the paradox. If a woman has been redeemed, what argument justifies her to continue engaging in depraved and sinful acts against God? Because her man says it's not fair.
Nothing. But that actually moves into the paradox. So the great paradox is from the perspective of the secularists. Think about it from both angles. You're only thinking about it from your angle. From your angle, you say, but she's reformed, she's come to Christ, and she doesn't want to do that type of behavior anymore. That's totally valid. Brian would agree that that's completely valid. But he also would say, it's really funny, though, that you came to Christ before you were dating me, and all these other men were able to get between those legs within the first 3 dates, and I have to wait 4 or 6 months. It seems like it's awful convenient. So while it's true that inside of a vacuum we can say, yes, that's what we want women to do, and I agree with that 100%, you're not going to be able to displace the argument from Brian that isn't that awful convenient that you do it just before you start dating me, right?